Hello, hello, hello. This is the Vanilla JavaScript podcast. I'm Chris Ferdinandi. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'm talking about let and const and why I still use var to define variables instead. Before we get started, I wanted to just let you know that I launched a new Vanilla JavaScript projects video series. You can get new Vanilla.js projects to work on each month with starter templates, solution videos, and completed source code. Head over to vanillajsprojects.com to learn more. Now, on to today's show. So I run an online training program for beginners who really want to move into kind of that advanced JavaScript space called the Vanilla.js Academy. And part of that is office hours where I review code and talk to students about projects from that week or so. And one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of my students use let and const when defining variables, but I still use var, and I get a lot of questions about why. So if you're not already familiar with the difference between them and when and why you use them, I have a quick primer on that I'm going to link to in the show notes. But the TLDR version is that let works mostly the same as var, but it won't let you redefine a variable a second time within the same scope, while const won't let you ever redefine that variable. They're a good way to protect your variables from being accidentally changed or overwritten. But I don't use them, and a few of my students frequently ask me why. This comes up every session. So a couple of reasons. First, they only work in modern browsers and IE 11 and up. And unlike most of the cool stuff that I share that's ES6-ish, they can't be polyfilled. So a lot of the newer methods and functions can be polyfilled, but let and const can't be. So the only way to use them, if you want to push support back to say IE9 or something, is to run them through a processor beforehand, like Babel. My preferred development approach is to write in fully native JS and use polyfills to add backwards compatibility. I do minify and concatenate stuff, but I never run my code through a transpiler to transform it from ES6 into ES5, and I don't want to have to. Using let and const would force me to choose between deeper backwards compatibility or adding more tools and, in my mind, bloat to my development process. The other reason, and this seems like kind of a silly thing, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me here, but is just cognitive overhead. When I use var to define a variable, I never have to think about which thing I want to use to define that variable. I just use var every time. When you start getting into let and const territory, you need to think more about how that variable is going to be used and which one is the right call, and are you going to need to go and change it later. And I know there's maybe some upsides to that in terms of forcing you to think a little bit more deliberately about what you're using and how you're going to use it. But for me, it's easier to just kind of keep using var throughout. And to be perfectly honest, let and const solve problems that I just personally don't have with writing JavaScript. I don't run into issues all that often where I'm accidentally overwriting or redefining variable names unintentionally. I keep my stuff isolated in terms of scope. When I do overwrite variables, it's usually very deliberate. I tend to keep my code a little bit more small and modular, so I'm not hitting these kinds of problems. And for me, the overhead, both technical and cognitive, of using these approaches is just not worth the benefits for me personally, in my opinion. So that's it for today's show. If you learn best by working on projects, but struggle to come up with projects to work on or get frustrated when you get stuck and don't know where to turn, go check out my new Vanilla.js projects video series. Each month, you'll get new Vanilla.js projects to work on with starter templates, solution videos, and completed source code. Head over to vanillajsprojects.com to learn more, and I will see you next time. Cheers.